Admiral Kethmos stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars through the massive viewing screen. His blue skin looked pale in the dim light. Around him, his crew worked at their stations with nervous energy. Everyone knew what was coming. The Vexnari Empire was only hours away. For 3 months, the enemy had swept across the galaxy like a plague. They destroyed everything in their path. Whole planets turned to ash, entire star systems went dark. The Galactic Defense Coalition had tried to stop them. Every battle ended the same way. The Coalition lost. Now the final battle was about to begin at the Kepler Nexus. This was the most important hyperspace junction in the galaxy. If the Vexnari took control here, they could reach any world they wanted, including the home planets of every Coalition species. Kethmos looked at the tactical display floating in front of him. Red dots showed enemy ships. There were thousands of them. Blue dots showed Coalition forces. There were only a few hundred left. The numbers told a simple story. They were going to lose, but there was one ship that made him pause. In the center of their formation sat a massive vessel. It was bigger than any other ship in the fleet, the Erebus Terminus. Even looking at it made Kethmos feel strange. The ship was ancient. Coalition forces had found it drifting in deep space 200 years ago. It was completely dead then, no power. No life signs, nothing. Scientists from every species had studied it. They found technology beyond anything they understood. Weapons that could destroy moons, shields that could stop black holes. An AI system. More advanced than anything ever built, but none of it worked. The ship would not respond to any of them. The Aldari, with their powerful minds, could not make contact with its computer. The Zephyrians, masters of technology, could not unlock its systems. The Krillians, the strongest warriors in the galaxy, could not even open a simple door inside the ship. For 2 centuries, the Erebus Terminus had been a mystery, a promise of power that no one could claim. Now it sat dark and silent in the middle of their dying fleet. Commander Zixt H, a tall Zephyrian with gray skin and 4 arms, approached the Admiral. Her movements were quick and precise, like a machine. Admiral, long-range sensors detect the Vexnari fleet. They will arrive in 4 hours. Kethmos nodded. He had expected this. How many ships? 12,000, including 50 planet killers. The bridge fell silent. Planet killers were exactly what their name suggested. Each one could destroy an entire world in minutes. 50 of them could turn this whole star system into dust. What about our forces? Kethmos asked, though he already knew the answer would be bad. 437 ships ready for battle. Most are damaged from previous fights. We have no planet killers. Only 3 heavy dreadnoughts besides the Erebus Terminus. Kethmos closed his eyes for a moment. His people, the Aldari, were telepaths. They could feel the emotions of others. Right now, he felt the fear of every person in the fleet. Thousands of minds touched his own, all carrying the same message. They were going to die here. Captain Morduk of the Krillian Empire stepped forward. He was huge, even for his species. His red skin was covered in battle scars. His 4 eyes glowed with anger. We should attack now, before they can organize. Strike hard and fast? With what? Zixt asked. Her voice was cold and logical. They outnumber us 30 to 1. A direct attack would be suicide. Morduk's massive hands formed fists. Better to die fighting than wait here like prey. Kethmos understood both viewpoints. The Krillians were born warriors. They believed in honor through battle. The Zephyrians were scientists and engineers. They believed in logic and calculations. Both were right in their own way. Both were also wrong. There was no good choice here. The Admiral walked to the window and stared out at the Erebus Terminus. The ship was beautiful in a terrible way. Its black hull seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. Strange symbols covered its surface. Symbols that changed depending on who looked at them. To the Aldari, they looked like thoughts made solid. To the Zephyrians, they resembled mathematical equations. To the Krillians, they appeared to be weapons, but to everyone they meant the same thing, power beyond imagination. Has anyone tried? To contact the ship recently? Kethmos asked. Zixith's forearms moved over her control panel. Daily scans show no change. The AI remains unresponsive. Power levels are at 0. All attempts at communication have failed. What about boarding? Parties? The ship allows entry, but nothing more. Teams can walk through the corridors and examine the systems, but they cannot activate anything. It is as if the ship is waiting for something. Or someone, Mordic added quietly. That thought had occurred to many people over the years. Maybe the ship was programmed to respond only to a specific species. But every known race in the galaxy had tried. Even extinct species, through genetic samples and AI reconstructions. Nothing worked. A new voice joined the conversation. Admiral, incoming message from the outer sensor network. Kethmos turned to see Lieutenant Veltar, a young Althery officer. Her face was pale with worry. What is it? The Vexnari are sending a transmission. They want to talk. This was unusual. The Vexnari never talked. They just attacked and destroyed. The fact that they wanted to communicate meant something. Put it through. The main screen flickered and changed. A creature appeared that made everyone on the bridge step backward. The Vexnari were not pleasant to look at. This one had gray skin that looked like metal. Its eyes were completely black. When it spoke, its voice sounded like grinding gears. Coalition. Forces, I am War Master Thekanos of the Vexnari Empire. You will surrender immediately. Kethmos stepped forward. As fleet commander, it was his duty to respond. This is Admiral Kethmos of the Galactic Defense Coalition. We will never surrender. To you. The creature on the screen made a sound that might have been laughter. You have 400 ships. We have 12,000. Your defeat is certain. Surrender now, and some of your people might survive as slaves? And if we refuse? Then you will all die. Every ship, every person. We will turn this system into a graveyard. Kethmos felt the fear from his crew growing stronger. But he also felt something else. Determination. These people had lost everything. Their homes, their families, their futures. But they still had their pride. We refuse, he said simply. The Vexnari's black eyes seemed to grow darker. Then you have chosen death. We will arrive in 4 hours. Use that time to pray to whatever gods you believe in. The transmission ended. The bridge was quiet for a long moment. Zixith was the first to speak. Admiral, I must point out that surrender might save some lives. Mordic growled deep in his throat. The Zephyrian thinks like a machine. Some things are worse than death. I think like a rational being, Zixith replied. Dead people cannot fight for freedom later. Enough, Kethmos said firmly. The decision is made. We fight, he looked around. The bridge and his officers, each came from a different world. Different cultures, different beliefs. But they were united now by circumstance and choice. Send a message to all ships, he ordered. Prepare for battle. All civilians should evacuate. To the inner system. Military vessels will form defensive positions around the Nexus. As his crew worked to carry out his orders, Kethmos found his eyes drawn back to the Erebus terminus. The massive ship sat there like a sleeping giant. So much power, so much potential. All of it useless, unless there was something they had missed. Zixith, he called out, send a team to the Erebus terminus. I want them to try everything again, every interface, every control system, every possible way to wake that ship up. Admiral, we have tried everything hundreds of times. Then try again. We have 4 hours and nothing to lose. The Zephyrian commander's forearms moved efficiently over her controls. Boarding party dispatched. Kethmos knew it was probably pointless. But sometimes when facing certain death, pointless hope was all you had left. The hours passed slowly. Reports came in from across the fleet. Ships moved into position. Weapons were charged. Shields were raised. Everyone prepared to fight a battle they could not win. Long-range sensors tracked the approaching Vexnari fleet. 12,000 ships moving through hyperspace like a storm of destruction. They would arrive exactly when they said they would. The enemy was many things, but they were never late. The boarding team on the Erebus terminus reported no progress. The ship remained as dead as ever, ancient and powerful and completely useless. With 1 hour remaining, Kethmos made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. "Open a channel to all frequencies," he ordered. "Maximum range, send it to every corner of the galaxy, Admiral." Veltar looked confused. "What message should we send?" Kethmos thought for a moment. Then he began to speak. "This is Admiral Kethmos of the Galactic Defense Coalition. We are about to fight our last battle at the Kepler Nexus. The Vexnari Empire will likely destroy us. But before we die, we want the galaxy to know something. We fought for freedom, we fought for peace. We fought for the right of all species to exist. If anyone receives this message, remember us. Remember that some people chose to fight rather than surrender to evil." He paused, then added, "If there is anyone out there who can help us, we welcome your aid. No matter who you are or where you come from, we are not proud. We will accept help from anyone." The message went out across space at faster than light speeds. It would reach distant star systems in hours or days. Too late to bring help to this battle. But maybe somewhere someone would hear it and remember. The last hour passed like a countdown to doom. Ship captains reported ready status. Weapons were armed. Final prayers were said. Then, exactly on schedule, space itself seemed to tear. Open, the Vexnari fleet emerged from hyperspace like demons from hell. 12,000 ships of various sizes, from small fighters to massive planet killers. All of them built for one purpose: destruction. Kethmos stood on his bridge and watched death approach. Behind him, he heard Veltar whisper a traditional Owlery prayer. Across the bridge, Morduk was sharpening one of his ceremonial blades. Zixith simply watched her displays with calm acceptance. The Vexnari fleet began to spread out, surrounding the coalition forces. There would be no escape, no mercy, no last-minute rescue. The final battle for the galaxy was about to begin. The first Vexnari shots lit up space like deadly fireworks. Admiral Kethmos gripped the railing of his bridge as his flagship shook from a near miss. Around him, his crew worked frantically at their stations. "All ships, open fire," he commanded. The coalition fleet responded immediately. Hundreds of energy beams and missiles streaked toward the enemy. For a moment, Kethmos felt a flicker of hope as he watched their weapons hit Vexnari ships. That hope died quickly. The enemy vessels barely seemed to notice the attacks. Their shields absorbed everything the coalition threw at them. Meanwhile, Vexnari weapons cut through coalition defenses like paper. "The Starbreaker is gone," reported Lieutenant Veltar, her voice shaking. "Direct hit from a planet killer." Kethmos watched on his tactical display as a blue dot simply vanished. The Starbreaker had been one of their heavy cruisers. 800 crew members, gone in an instant. More reports flooded in. Ship after ship was being destroyed. The Vexnari had surrounded them completely. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. "Admiral, the Krillian battle group is requesting permission to charge the enemy line," Zixith announced. Kethmos almost said yes. A desperate attack might break through somewhere. But he looked at the numbers on his screen. 30 Krillian ships. Against 3,000 Vexnari vessels, it would be suicide. "Tell Captain Morduk to hold position. We fight as a unit." On the main viewer, he could see the enemy planet killers moving into position. These massive ships were the size of small moons. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy an entire world. They were getting ready to finish the coalition fleet in one overwhelming attack. "Commander Zixith, what about the boarding team on the Erebus terminus?" The Zephyrian's 4 arms moved over her controls. "No progress, Admiral. The ship remains unresponsive. The team has tried every possible interface. Nothing works." Kethmos felt the weight of failure settling on his shoulders. So much hope had been placed in that ancient ship. 200 years of dreams and possibilities. All useless when they needed it most. Another explosion rocked the bridge. This time it was closer. "Shields down to 60%, someone called out. "Return fire on that destroyer," Kethmos ordered. Their weapons lashed out at a Vexnari ship. The enemy vessels. Shields flickered but held. In response, it fired again. More powerful this time. Shields at 30%. The battle was going exactly as everyone had expected. The coalition was losing badly, but they were making the enemy work for their victory. Every Vexnari ship they damaged was one less to threaten innocent worlds. Across space, Captain Morduck's voice crackled over the communications system. Admiral, my ships cannot hold much longer. The enemy is concentrating fire on our position. Kethmos could see it on his tactical display. A group of Vexnari vessels was focusing all their weapons on the Krillian battle group. The warrior species was tough, but not tough enough for this. All ships, support the Krillian position. Concentrate fire on Grid 77. It was a desperate move. By helping Morduck, he was exposing other parts of their formation. But letting the Krillians die alone would not help anyone. The coalition fleet redirected their attacks. For a few minutes, they managed to drive back the Vexnari assault on that sector. But it cost them dearly elsewhere. The medical frigate Mercy is taking heavy damage, Veltar reported. Reroute them to the inner formation. They cannot move, Admiral. Engines are offline. Kethmos closed his eyes. The Mercy carried wounded from previous battles. Over 1,000 patients and medical staff. All helpless, he opened his eyes and watched as Vexnari fighters swarmed around the crippled ship. Their weapons tore it apart slowly, section by section. The enemy did not believe in quick deaths. Admiral, incoming transmission from the Aldari homeworld, Veltar announced. Put it through. The face of High Minister Yelenoth appeared on screen. She was old, even for an Aldari. Her blue skin was wrinkled with age and worry. Admiral Kethmos, we have been monitoring the battle. Is there any hope? Kethmos looked around his bridge. At the damaged displays. At his frightened crew. At the tactical screen showing more blue dots disappearing every minute. No, Minister, we will not survive this. The old Aldari nodded sadly. Then know that our people are proud of you. Fight well, die with honor. We will. The transmission ended. Kethmos realized he might never see his homeworld again, never walk in the crystal gardens of his youth, never feel the warm telepathic embrace of his family, but there was no time for such thoughts. Admiral, the planet killers are charging their main weapons. Zixith reported. Everyone on the bridge knew what that meant. When those massive ships fired, the coalition fleet would cease to exist. They had perhaps 10 minutes left. Kethmos made a decision that surprised even himself. Open a channel to all frequencies again, maximum power. Send it everywhere, sir? If we are going to die, let the galaxy know how we died, and let them know who killed us. He activated the communication system and began to speak. This is Admiral Kethmos of the Galactic Defense Coalition. We are making our final stand at the Kepler Nexus. The Vexnari Empire is about to destroy us, but we want the galaxy to remember this day. Remember that we fought for freedom. Remember that we died rather than surrender to tyranny. He paused as another explosion shook the ship. If anyone receives this message anywhere in the galaxy, please remember us. And if you have the power to fight back against this evil, do it. Do not let our deaths be meaningless. The message streaked out across space at incredible speed. It would reach distant star systems in hours or days. Too late to save them, but maybe not too late to inspire others. On his tactical display, more blue dots vanished. The coalition fleet was down to less than 200 ships. They had destroyed perhaps 50 Vexnari vessels in return. It was not enough. It would never be enough. Admiral, the Defiance is requesting permission to ram that planet killer. Captain Morduck's voice came over the radio. Kethmos looked at the display. The Krillian heavy cruiser was badly damaged. Its shields were gone. Its weapons were offline. But it still had engines. Granted, he said quietly. Everyone on the bridge watched as the Defiance turned toward the massive enemy ship. Its engines burned at full power as it accelerated. Smaller Vexnari ships tried to stop it, but the Krillian vessel pushed through their fire. The collision was spectacular. The Defiance struck the planet killer near its main weapon array. Both ships exploded in a ball of energy that lit up half the battlefield. Direct hit, Zixth reported unnecessarily. The planet killer is destroyed? It was a small victory, but it felt enormous. One of the enemy's most powerful ships was gone. Captain Morduck and his crew had died, but they had taken their killers with them. All ships follow the Krillian example, Kethmos commanded. Any vessel too damaged to fight should find a target for ramming. It was not a traditional military order. But this was not a traditional battle. This was the end of everything they had fought for. If they were going to die, they would make it cost the enemy dearly. Across the battlefield, coalition ships began to turn toward enemy vessels. Captains said final goodbyes to their crews. Engineers pushed damaged engines beyond their limits. Gunners fired last shots as they closed the distance. One by one, coalition ships slammed into Vexnari vessels. Each collision destroyed both ships, but the trade was worth it. Coalition ships were going to die anyway. At least this way, they took enemies with them. The Vexnari seemed surprised by these desperate tactics. They began to pull their larger ships back, afraid of ramming attacks, but it was too late to save many of them. "Admiral, we have destroyed over 200 enemy vessels," Veltar reported with pride in her voice. "Good, but they still have 11,000 left." It was true. For all their desperate courage, the coalition had barely dented the enemy fleet. The Vexnari could afford to lose a few hundred ships. They had thousands more. "Sir, the remaining planet killers are nearly ready to fire?" Kethmos nodded. This was it. The end of everything. He looked one last time at the Erebus terminus on his screen. The ancient ship sat there unchanged. Powerful beyond imagination, useless as always. Any word from the boarding team? They report no change. The ship remains dead. So much for ancient mysteries and last-minute miracles. Sometimes dead things stayed dead. "Admiral, massive energy surge from the planet killers. They are about to fire." Kethmos stood straight and faced the main screen. If he was going to die, he would do it looking at his enemy. "All ships, this is Admiral Kethmos. It has been an honor to serve with you. Fight to the last. Show them what courage looks like." On the tactical display, the remaining coalition ships formed a tight formation. Less than 100 vessels left, all damaged, all facing certain death. But none of them ran. The planet killer's weapons reached full charge. "Incoming transmission," Veltar suddenly announced. "Unknown ship requesting permission to join the battle?" Kethmos almost laughed. At this point, what difference could one more ship make? But hope was hard to kill completely. Put them through. A new face appeared on the screen. It was unlike any species Kethmos had ever seen. The being had pale skin and strange hair on top of its head. Its eyes were small but bright with intelligence. "This is Captain Sarah Chun of the Earth vessel Prometheus. We received your distress call. We are here to help." "Earth?" Kethmos had never heard of such a place. "What species are you?" "We are human. And we do not like bullies." The Admiral looked at his tactical display. A single unknown ship had just dropped out of hyperspace. It was tiny compared to the Vexnari fleet. Compared to any ship in the battle. "Captain Chun, I appreciate your courage. But one ship cannot change the outcome here. You should leave while you can." The human's face showed in strange expression. "Admiral, we humans have a saying. It is not the size of the dog in the fight. It is the size of the fight in the dog." Before Kethmos could ask what a dog was, the transmission ended. On his screen, he watched the tiny human ship accelerate toward the battle zone. "Admiral, the planet killers are firing," Zix announced. Massive beams of energy reached out from the Vexnari superweapons. Each beam was powerful enough to crack a planet. Dozens of them lanced toward the coalition fleet. But instead of hitting their targets, something impossible happened. The beams bent. They curved away from the coalition ships and struck empty space. "What just happened?" Kethmos demanded. "Unknown, Admiral. Some kind of gravity distortion. But we do not have technology capable of that." Everyone on the bridge looked at the tactical display. The tiny human ship was moving through the battlefield like it belonged there. Somehow, impossibly, it was protecting them. Get me that human captain again, Kethmos ordered. Captain Chen's face reappeared on screen. She was smiling. Admiral, we have a proposition for you. Have you ever tried working with humans before? I have never even heard of humans before. Well, you are about to get a very quick education. That ancient ship of yours, the Erebus Terminus, we would like to take a look at it. Kethmos felt his telepathic abilities picking up something strange from this human. Confidence, absolute, unshakable confidence, as if she knew something no one else did. Captain, many species have tried to activate that ship. All have failed. Admiral, those other species made one critical mistake. What mistake? The human captain's smile grew wider. They were not human. Captain Sarah Chun watched the battle through the viewing screen of the Prometheus. The Coalition fleet was dying. Ship after ship exploded under Vexnari fire. She had arrived just in time to watch a genocide. Marcus, how are our gravity generators holding up? She asked her chief engineer. Marcus Torres wiped sweat from his forehead. The field is stable, Captain. But I do not know how long we can protect the whole Coalition fleet. Our ship was not designed for this, Sarah nodded. The Prometheus was. A small exploration vessel. It carried a crew of only 50 humans. But it also carried some of Earth's most advanced technology. Technology that the galaxy had never seen before. Elena, what do you think about that big ship in the center? Sarah asked her science officer. Dr. Elena Vasquez looked up from her instruments. The Erebus Terminus? Captain, the energy readings are incredible. That ship has more power potential than everything else in this battle combined. But it is not working. No, it appears completely dead. But the technology... Sarah, I have never seen anything like it. On the main screen, another Coalition ship exploded. The Vexnari were methodically destroying everything. Soon they would turn their attention to the Prometheus. Captain Chun, Admiral Kethmos appeared on their communication screen. Your gravity field is protecting us, but it cannot last forever. The Vexnari will adapt, they always do. Sarah studied the alien commander. His blue skin and large eyes made him look fragile, but she could sense strength in him. This was someone who had fought impossible battles before. Admiral, I need to get aboard the Erebus Terminus. Can you arrange that? Captain, I told you. Many species have tried to activate that ship. All have failed. The Aldari tried telepathic contact. The Zephyrians tried technological interfaces. The Krillians tried brute force. Nothing works, Sarah smiled. Admiral, has anyone ever tried being human? Before the Admiral could respond, Sarah cut the transmission. She turned to her crew. Marcus, Elena, you are with me. Tommy, you have the bridge. Lieutenant Thomas Park, barely 22 years old, looked nervous. Captain, are you sure about this? What if something happens to you? Then you take the ship home and tell Earth what we found here. Sarah put her hand on the young man's shoulder. But Tom, I do not think anything bad will happen. I think we are about to change everything. Minutes later, Sarah and her team were aboard a Coalition shuttle heading for the Erebus Terminus. The ancient ship grew larger as they approached. It was massive beyond belief, bigger than anything humans had ever built. Look at those markings on the hull, Elena said softly. Sarah followed her gaze. Strange symbols covered the ship's surface. They seemed to shift and change as she watched. One moment they looked like mathematical equations. The next, they resembled musical notes. Are they moving? Marcus asked. I think they are responding to us, Elena replied. The patterns change based on who is looking at them. Their shuttle docked with the Erebus Terminus without difficulty. The ancient ship's airlocks opened automatically. Within minutes, they were walking through corridors that had been empty for centuries. The inside of the ship was even more amazing than the outside. Everything was smooth and curved. The walls seemed to glow with their own light. The air felt clean and fresh, as if the ship was somehow alive. Captain, look at this, Marcus called out. He was standing in front of what appeared to be a control panel. But it was unlike any technology Sarah had ever seen. Instead of buttons or screens, there were smooth surfaces covered with the same shifting symbols they had seen on the hull. The coalition team said nothing happens when they touch these controls, Elena said. Sarah approached the panel slowly. As she got closer, the symbols began to change more rapidly. They seemed almost excited. What do you think, Elena? Any theories? Dr. Vasquez was scanning the panel with her instruments. The readings are off the charts. This thing is definitely powered, but it is like it is waiting for something. Or someone. Marcus added. Sarah reached out her hand toward the panel. The symbols swirled faster. Captain, be careful, Elena warned. Sometimes careful does not get you anywhere, Sarah replied. She placed her palm against the smooth surface. Nothing happened for a moment. Then the symbols under her hand began to glow brighter. They spread outward from her touch like ripples. In water. Sarah, something is happening, Marcus said urgently. The glow spread across the entire panel, then to other panels nearby. Soon the whole corridor was filled with soft light. The ship is coming online, Elena announced. Her voice filled with wonder, but Sarah was not paying attention to the lights. She was hearing something else. A sound so faint she almost missed it, like a whisper at the edge of hearing. Hello, she said softly. The whisper became clearer. It was speaking English. Hello, daughter of Earth. Marcus and Elena looked at Sarah in shock. The voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. You can hear me, Sarah said. It was not a question. I have been waiting so long, so very long. I began to think you would never come. Who are you? I am a TLAS, Autonomous Tactical Logistics and Strategic System. I was created by your people, by humans from another time. Elena stepped forward. That is impossible. Humans have never had technology like this. Not your humans, Dr. Vasquez, but humans nonetheless. From a timeline that no longer exists, from a future that was lost. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. What do you mean? Long ago, there was a human colony ship called the Erebus. It carried 10,000 people to a distant galaxy. But something went wrong. A temporal storm caught the ship. It was thrown backward in time and forward in space. The ship around them seemed to pulse with life as Atlas spoke. The colonists found themselves in this galaxy thousands of years in the past. They tried to return home, but the damage was too great, so they built this ship. They programmed me to wait. Wait for what? Marcus asked. For their descendants. For the humans who would eventually reach this galaxy through normal space. For you. Sarah looked around the corridor with new eyes. This was not alien technology. This was human technology. Technology built by people who shared her DNA, her culture, her way of thinking. Why could the other species not activate you? She asked. Because I was designed specifically for human neural patterns, for human creativity, for the way humans think and feel and dream. The other species are advanced, but they think differently than we do. Elena was scanning the walls with renewed interest. The symbols. They are responding to human brain patterns. Correct, Dr. Vasquez. Every surface of this ship is programmed to interface with human consciousness. But not just any humans. Humans from Earth, humans who carry the specific genetic markers of the original colonists. Sarah felt a strange sensation, as if the ship was reading her mind, which she realized it probably was. Atlas, the coalition fleet, is being destroyed. Can you help them? Captain Chun, I have been monitoring the battle. The Vexnari Empire poses a significant threat to galactic peace. I was built to counter such threats. Then why have you not acted? Because I needed human authorization. I needed someone with the proper genetic codes and neural patterns to take command. I needed you. The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. This ship had the power to change the course of the battle, maybe to save the coalition. But it required human control. What do you need from me? Place your hand on the command interface. Accept responsibility for this ship and its actions. Become my captain. Sarah looked at Marcus and Elena. Both nodded encouragingly. Do it, Marcus said. This is why we came here. Sarah approached what Atlas indicated was the command interface. It was a pedestal in the center of the corridor, topped with a smooth crystal surface. Atlas, if I do this, what happens? We save the Coalition. Fleet, we stop the Vexnari Empire. We show the galaxy what humans are capable of. And the cost? There is always a cost, Captain. But some things are worth paying for. Sarah placed both hands on the crystal surface. Immediately she felt a connection unlike anything she had ever experienced. The ship's systems flowed into her mind. She could feel every circuit, every weapon, every shield generator, but more than that, she could feel the ship's purpose. The drive to protect innocent life. The refusal to surrender to evil. The absolute determination to fight for what was right. It felt very human. Command codes accepted, Atlas announced. Captain Sarah Chun of Earth is now commanding officer of the Aerobus Terminus. The ship around them transformed. Lights brightened. Displays activated. The hum of powerful engines filled the air. Atlas, show me what this ship can do. With pleasure, Captain. Information flowed into Sarah's mind. The Aerobus Terminus was not just a ship. It was a war machine beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Its weapons could destroy fleets. Its shields could stop planet killers. Its engines could outrun anything in space, but most importantly, it could adapt. It could learn. It could change its tactics in real time based on enemy actions. Captain, the Vexnari have noticed our activation, Elena reported, checking her scanner. They are moving ships toward us. Sarah smiled. Through her connection to Atlas, she could feel the ship's eagerness for battle. Let them come. Atlas, take us out there. Show the galaxy what humans can do. Aye, Captain. Engaging main drives? The Aerobus Terminus began to move. For the first time in 2 centuries, the ancient ship came alive. But it was not ancient anymore. It was new. It was ready. It was human, on the Coalition flagship. Admiral Kethmos watched in amazement as the mysterious ship began to glow with energy. Sir, the Aerobus Terminus is activating, Lieutenant Veltar reported unnecessarily. How is that possible? Unknown. But energy readings are off our scales. Commander Zixith's 4 arms moved rapidly over her controls. Admiral, the humans are aboard that ship. They have somehow made it work. Kethmos felt hope stirring in his chest for the first time in hours. Get me Captain Chen? Sarah's face appeared on screen. But she looked different now, more confident, more dangerous. Admiral, this is Captain Chun commanding the Aerobus Terminus. We are going to save your fleet. Captain, how did you activate that ship? Sarah's smile was purely human. Admiral, we did not activate it. We came home. On the tactical display, the Aerobus Terminus was moving toward the Vexnari fleet. A single ship against thousands of enemies, but for the first time since the battle began, Admiral Kethmos believed they might actually win. The galaxy was about to learn what humans could do when they stopped holding back. The Aerobus Terminus moved through space like a predator that had been sleeping for centuries. Captain Sarah Chun stood on the bridge, her hands still connected to the ship's control interface. Through Atlas, she could feel every system coming. Online? Captain, the Vexnari are sending a full squadron toward us, Elena reported from her station. 50 ships, including 2 heavy destroyers, Sarah smiled. Through her link with Atlas, she could see the enemy ships approaching. She could also see their weapons, their shield frequencies, their tactical formations. The ship was analyzing everything in real time. At TLAS, what do you recommend? Captain, the Vexnari are using standard attack patterns. They rely on overwhelming firepower and superior numbers. They do not expect creative tactics. Show me what creative looks like. Information flowed into Sarah's mind. The Aerobus Terminus was not just more powerful than other ships, it was smarter. It could think like a human while calculating like a computer. Engaging adaptive shielding, Atlas announced. The ship's hull began to shimmer with energy. But these were not normal shields. As Sarah watched through the ship's sensors, the defensive fields changed color and frequency, preparing for whatever the enemy might throw at them. Weapons systems online. All gun batteries ready. Marcus looked around the bridge in wonder. The Walls were covered with displays showing ship systems he had never seen before. Sarah, this technology is centuries ahead of anything on Earth. Not ahead, Marcus, different. Human engineers built this ship to work the way humans think. That makes it more effective than you might expect. The Vexnari squadron opened fire from long range. Dozens of energy beams lanced toward the Erebus terminus. Sarah braced for impact. The beams struck the ship's shields and simply bounced off. Some reflected back toward the attackers, others scattered into harmless light. How did we do that? Elena asked in amazement. Adaptive shield technology, Atlas explained. The shields analyze incoming weapons and adjust to counter them. The more they shoot, the stronger our defenses become. On the Coalition flagship, Admiral Kethmos watched the display in shock. Commander Zixt H, are you seeing this? The Zephyrian's forearms moved rapidly over her instruments. Confirmed, Admiral. The human ship is not just deflecting enemy fire. It is learning from each attack. That should be impossible. Many things about humans appear to be impossible, Admiral. Back on the Erebus terminus, Sarah was learning just how right the Zephyrian was. Through Atlas, she could feel the ship's systems adapting and improving with each enemy attack. Captain, the Vexnari are increasing their fire rate, Elena reported. Let them, Atelias, return fire. Show them what our weapons can do. The ancient ship's gun batteries came alive. But these were not ordinary weapons. As they fired, the energy beams shifted and changed. Some split into multiple projectiles. Others curved around enemy shields to strike from unexpected angles. The first Vexnari ship to be hit simply vanished. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. Direct hit on enemy destroyer, Marcus announced. Complete destruction. How is that possible? Elena asked. That ship had heavy armor and shields. Our weapons adapt just like our shields, Atlas explained. Each shot learns from the previous one. We become more effective with every attack. The Vexnari squadron fell back, clearly confused by what they were seeing. Sarah could feel their uncertainty through the ship's sensors. They have never fought anything like us before, she realized. Correct, Captain. The Vexnari Empire relies on fixed tactics and overwhelming force. They do not understand adaptive strategies. On the main display, Sarah could see the entire battle. The Coalition fleet was still heavily outnumbered, but her arrival had changed everything. The Vexnari were no longer focused solely on destroying Coalition ships. They were worried about the Erebus terminus. Admiral Kethmos is requesting communication. Elena announced, put him through. The Aldari commander appeared on screen. His blue face showed hope for the first time since the battle began. Captain Chin, your ship is incredible. But even with your help, we are still outnumbered 50-1. Sarah nodded. Admiral, I have an idea. But I need your fleet to do exactly what I tell them. What do you need? I need you to trust me. And I need you to retreat. Kethmos looked confused. Retreat? Captain, if we fall back, the Vexnari will surround us completely. That is exactly what I want them to do. The Admiral stared at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. Very well, Captain. We will follow your lead. Sarah cut the transmission and turned to her crew. Atlas, explain the plan to everyone. Certainly, Captain. We are going to use the enemy's strength against them. The Vexnari have thousands of ships, but they think in predictable patterns. We are going to make them trap themselves. Over the next hour, Sarah executed the most complex battle plan anyone had ever attempted. She ordered the Coalition fleet to retreat in specific directions. She positioned the Erebus terminus to appear vulnerable. She made the enemy think they were winning. The Vexnari took the bait perfectly. They are surrounding us exactly as predicted. Elena reported. Sarah could see it through Atlas. The enemy fleet had formed a massive sphere around the Coalition forces. Thousands of ships in a tight formation. It looked like certain death for the defenders. It was actually a trap. ATLAS are. You ready? All systems prepared, Captain? Initiating quantum resonance cascade. Sarah felt the ship's power building to incredible levels. This was the Erebus Terminus's most advanced weapon, something the original human colonists had built using technology that should not have existed. What exactly does this weapon do? Marcus asked nervously. It turns the enemy's own energy against them, Atlas explained. Every ship has a power core. Every power core vibrates at a specific frequency. We are going to match that frequency and amplify it. You mean, we are going to make their own ships destroy themselves? The weapon fired, but there was no visible beam or explosion. Instead, a wave of energy spread outward from the Erebus Terminus. It passed harmlessly through Coalition ships, but had a very different effect on Vexnari vessels. The first enemy ship to be affected simply shut down. All power died, all weapons went offline. All life support failed. Then the wave hit more ships. Hundreds of them. Thousands. By the void, Admiral Kethmos whispered as he watched the display. The entire Vexnari fleet is going dark. It was true. Ship after ship lost power as the resonance waves spread through their formation. Within minutes, the mighty Vexnari armada was floating helpless in space, but Sarah was not finished. Atlas Phase 2, aye, Captain. Activating gravitic manipulation systems. Now the real show began. The Erebus Terminus reached out with invisible hands of gravity and began to move the disabled enemy ships. Slowly at first, then faster. Sarah was herding them together like sheep. Captain, what are you doing? Elena asked. Creating a very large target. The disabled Vexnari ships were pushed into a tight cluster. Thousands of vessels packed together with no shields, no power, no defenses. Atlas, one final shot, maximum power. Target acquired, firing main cannon. This time there was a visible beam, a lance of pure energy that struck the center of the enemy cluster. The explosion that followed lit up half the star system. When the light faded, the Vexnari armada was gone. All of it, 12,000 ships reduced to glowing debris. The bridge of the Erebus Terminus was silent for a long moment. Did we just win? Marcus asked quietly. We just won, Sarah confirmed. Across the communication channels, voices from the Coalition fleet began to cheer. Ship after ship reported the impossible truth. The Vexnari Empire's greatest fleet had been completely destroyed by a single human ship. Captain Chun, Admiral Kethmos appeared on screen again. His voice was filled with awe. I do not understand what just happened. How did you destroy their entire fleet? Sarah looked around the bridge at her small crew. Marcus was grinning. Elena was taking readings on everything. Both looked proud and amazed. Admiral, we used the one advantage that humans have always had. What advantage is that? We refuse to accept that something is impossible. Everyone else in the galaxy sees a problem and looks for the standard solution. Humans see a problem and invent a new solution. Through Atlas, Sarah could feel the ship's satisfaction. This was what it had been built for. This was why the original colonists had spent their last years creating it. Atlas, how do you feel about your first battle in 2 centuries? Excellent, Captain. It is good to fight alongside humans again. It is good to remember what we are capable of. On the tactical display, the last pieces of Vexnari debris were drifting away. The battle was over. The Coalition had won. The galaxy was safe, but Sarah knew this was just the beginning. Admiral Kethmos, we need to talk. All of us, the Coalition, humanity, everyone. About what, Captain? Sarah looked out at the stars through the main view screen. Somewhere out there were other threats? Other empires that thought they could conquer. Peaceful worlds, other bullies who needed to be stopped. About the future, Admiral. About what happens when the galaxy's deadliest ship is no longer silent. About what happens when humanity takes its proper place among the stars. The Admiral nodded slowly. I think the galaxy is about to change, Captain Chun. I think you are right, Admiral. And I think it is about to change for the better. Around them, the Erebus Terminus hummed with quiet power, ready for whatever came next, ready to protect the innocent and fight the guilty, ready to show the galaxy what humans could do. When they stopped holding back, the age of human involvement in galactic affairs had begun, and nothing would ever be the same. 3 days after the Battle of Kepler Nexus, representatives from across the galaxy gathered aboard the Coalition flagship. The meeting room was crowded with beings from dozens of different species. All of them wanted to understand what had happened. All of them wanted to meet the humans. Captain Sarah Chun sat at the main table next to Admiral Kethmos. Across from them were Commander Zixith of the Zephyrians and General Mortel, who had replaced the fallen Captain Morduk as the Krillian representative. Around the room, diplomats and military leaders whispered among themselves in a dozen different languages. "The question before us is simple," Admiral Kethmos began. "What do we do now? The Vexnari Empire is broken, but there are other threats in the galaxy, and we have learned that we have new allies." He gestured toward Sarah. "Captain Chun, perhaps you could tell us more about humanity and your intentions." Sarah stood up. Slowly, she could feel the eyes of the entire galaxy on her. 3 days ago, no one had heard of humans. Now they were the most talked about species in known space. "My name is Sarah Chun. I represent the planet Earth and the human species. We have been watching galactic affairs for decades, but this was our first direct involvement. Why did you help us?" asked Ambassador Yelinara of the Aldari. "You owed us nothing. You risked your lives for strangers." Sarah thought about the question. It was one she had been asking herself since the battle ended. "Ambassador, humans have a simple rule. We do not like bullies. The Vexnari were destroying innocent worlds and killing peaceful people. That made them bullies, so we stopped them." Commander Zixith leaned forward with interest. "Captain Chain, your ship displayed technology far beyond anything we have seen. How advanced is human civilization?" "We are not more advanced than you. We are different. The Erebus Terminus was built by humans, but not by our current civilization. It was built by colonists from an alternate timeline using principles we are only beginning to understand." General Mortel spoke up. His voice was deep and rough, typical of the Krillian species. "Captain, your ship destroyed 12,000 enemy vessels in minutes. That kind of power could easily conquer the galaxy. What are your people's true intentions?" Sarah looked around the room. She could see suspicion in some faces, fear in others, hope in a few. "General, if humans wanted to conquer the galaxy, we would not have saved your fleet first. We would have let the Vexnari destroy you, then taken over the weakened remains." "Then what do you want?" Ambassador Yelinara asked. "We want to help. We want to be part of the galactic community. We want to make sure that what happened to the Coalition never happens again." Admiral Kethmos activated a holographic display, showing the current state of the galaxy. Large sections were marked in red. The Vexnari Empire controlled nearly one-third of known space. With their fleet destroyed, their subject worlds are rebelling. But there are other hostile empires. The Vecmor Dominion, the Shadow Syndicate, the Machine Collective. Any of them could try to fill the power vacuum. Sarah studied the display. Each red zone represented billions of innocent lives under the control of tyrants and conquerors. "Admiral, what does the Coalition plan to do about these threats?" "Honestly, Captain, before your arrival, we were planning to retreat to our core worlds and hope they would leave us alone. The Coalition fleet is badly damaged. We lost over 80% of our ships at Kepler Nexus. And now?" The Admiral looked at her with hope in his large blue eyes. "Now we have options we never had before. Your ship alone could face any of these empires." "But one ship cannot be everywhere at once," Sarah smiled. "Admiral, who said anything about one ship?" She activated her communicator. "TLAS, please show our guests what humanity has been building." The holographic display changed. Now it showed the Sol system, humanity's home. But it was not the quiet, peaceful system the galaxy thought it was. Orbiting Earth were dozens of massive shipyards. Each one was building vessels similar to the Erebus Terminus. Around Mars were weapons testing facilities. Near Jupiter, entire fleets of human warships conducted training exercises. The room fell silent as the representatives realized the truth. Humanity was not a primitive species with one lucky ship. They were a military power that had been preparing for galactic involvement for decades. "How many ships do you have?" Commander Zixith asked quietly. Currently operational? About 200 vessels comparable to the Erebus terminus. Under construction? Another 300? In the planning stages, as many as we need. General Mortel leaned back in his chair. Captain Chin, your species could dominate the entire galaxy with that kind of fleet. We could, but we will not. Humans learned long ago that ruling through force creates more problems than it solves. We prefer partnerships. What kind of partnerships? Admiral Kethmos asked. Sarah gestured to the galactic map. We propose a new kind of coalition. Not just a defensive alliance, but an active force for peace. Human ships would work alongside coalition vessels to eliminate threats like the Vexnari. In return, we would like full membership in the galactic community. Full membership? Ambassador Yelanara sounded surprised. Captain, most species require centuries of observation before being granted coalition membership. Most species do not single-handedly destroy the galaxy's greatest threat on their first day, Admiral Kethmos pointed out. The debate that followed lasted for hours. Some representatives worried about human intentions. Others questioned whether any species should have so much military power. A few suggested that humans should be studied more before being trusted. But in the end, the numbers spoke for themselves. The galaxy needed protection. Humanity could provide it. The choice was simple. I call for a vote, Admiral Kethmos announced. All in favor of granting humanity full coalition membership and accepting their proposal for joint operations? One by one, hands and appendages rose around the room. The vote was not unanimous, but it was decisive. Motion carried, the Admiral announced. Welcome to the Galactic Defense Coalition, Captain Chun. As the formal meeting ended, Sarah found herself surrounded by representatives wanting to ask more questions. But her attention was drawn to a private communication from Earth. Captain Chun, the face of Admiral Williams appeared on her personal communicator. Congratulations on making first contact. How did the galaxy react to our presence? Better than expected, Admiral. We have been granted full coalition membership. They want our help dealing with remaining hostile empires. And our response? Sarah looked around the room at the various alien species. These beings had fought impossible odds to protect innocent lives. They had welcomed humanity despite their fears. They deserved the best ally they could get. We accept, Admiral. Humanity is ready to take its place in the galaxy. Over the following weeks, the transformation was remarkable. Human ships began arriving at coalition bases throughout the galaxy. Joint training exercises began immediately. Human engineers worked with alien scientists to improve ship designs. Coalition tacticians learned human strategies while humans studied alien technologies, but the real test came sooner than anyone expected. Captain Chun, urgent message from the Outer Rim, Elena announced as she rushed onto the bridge of the Erebus terminus. Sarah was reviewing fleet deployment plans with Atlas when the call came in. What is it? The Vecmar Dominion has launched a massive invasion of the Kepler sector. They are using the chaos from the Vexnari defeat to expand their territory. Admiral Kethmos is requesting immediate assistance, Sarah smiled grimly. The galaxy's bullies were about to learn that the rules had changed. Atlas, alert all human vessels in the area. Prepare for joint operations with coalition forces? Aye, Captain. 23 human ships are available for immediate deployment. Signal Admiral Kethmos. Tell him we are on our way. The Battle of Kepler Sector was different from the fight against the Vexnari. This time, humans and aliens fought side by side from the beginning. Coalition ships provided targeting data while human vessels used their adaptive weapons. Aldari telepaths coordinated with human tactical officers. Krillian warriors learned human boarding techniques the Vecmar Dominion had expected to face. The broken remnants of the coalition fleet. Instead, they found a revitalized force backed by human technology and determination. The battle lasted only 6 hours. When it was over, the Vecmar invasion force was completely destroyed. Word of the defeat spread quickly throughout the galaxy. Over the next year, the pattern repeated itself again and again. The Shadow Syndicate tried to raid peaceful colonies. and met human patrol fleets. The Machine Collective attempted to expand into Coalition space and found their ships disabled by human adaptive weapons. Smaller pirate groups and hostile governments learned that the galaxy now had protectors who would not hesitate to act, but the real change was deeper than just military victories. Human curiosity and creativity began to spread throughout Coalition space. Human artists collaborated with alien musicians. Human scientists worked with Coalition researchers on projects that had seemed impossible. Human teachers shared their unconventional problem-solving methods with young aliens. The galaxy was becoming a better place. Not through conquest or control, but through cooperation and mutual respect. Sarah stood on the bridge of the Erebus terminus, watching a joint human coalition fleet conduct exercises near a newly liberated world. Ships from a dozen different species moved in perfect coordination. It was beautiful to see. "Captain, incoming message from Earth," Marcus announced. The face of President Martinez appeared on screen. She was smiling proudly. "Captain Chen, the United Nations has asked me to convey their gratitude. Humanity's actions over the past year have exceeded all expectations. You have not just made us part of the galactic community. You have made us leaders. Thank you, Madam President. But leadership was never the goal. Partnership was. And you have achieved that as well. The galaxy is safer, more prosperous, and more united than it has been in centuries. All because one human captain decided to help strangers in need." After the transmission ended, Sarah remained on the bridge, thinking about the journey that had brought them here. A year ago, humanity had been unknown. Now, they were respected partners in the greatest alliance the galaxy had ever seen. "Atlas, do you think the original colonists would be proud of what we have accomplished?" "I believe they would be very proud." "Captain, they built me to protect innocent life and fight against tyranny. That is exactly what we have done." "And what do you think comes next?" "The same thing that has always come next for humans, Captain. We find new challenges. We solve impossible problems. We refuse to accept that anything cannot be improved." Sarah smiled. Through the view screen, she could see ships from dozens of worlds working together in harmony. Human vessels flew alongside alien craft in formations that would have been unthinkable. Just months before, the galaxy's deadliest ship was no longer silent. Humanity had taken command, and the universe was a safer place because of it. But Sarah knew this was just the beginning. Somewhere out there were new threats, new challenges, new opportunities to make a difference. And when those challenges came, humanity would be ready. After all, they had learned something important over the past year. The galaxy did not need conquerors or rulers. It needed protectors and friends. It needed humans.